Okay, doesn't that just suck? I know, I experienced that last year, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do better? And never let that happen again. So it made me just wonder, which brings us to our topic today. What is the physiological reason behind academic success? So let me ask you this question. Answer it to yourselves. What is the foundation of academic success? Now, let me gear your thoughts a little to this picture right here. If you don't get this every single night, this is what you turn into, figuratively speaking. But that's right, sleep. If you don't get it every night, don't you turn into this, right? I know I do. And if you don't, you're superhuman. Just saying. So let's look into it. Why is sleep the foundation of all success? Dr. Richard Sidowick in 2014 explained that when the brain is awake, when we are awake, the brain is having an all-out party. Have you ever been to an all-out party where everybody's just leaving their junk wherever they want to because it's time to party, right? Well, the brain feels that way. It's making all these metabolic waste products every time we think, every time we breathe, every time we do. So, as you can tell, when the brain is awake, not much is happening. However, when the brain's asleep, you see all this waste product getting cleared up. There's a system called the lymphatic system that takes care of all of this. It uses glial cells to take waste products, push it through the tight junctions into capillary beds, which then deliver it to the liver and the kidneys, and then into our waste products. So it uses glial cells such as astrocytes and epidermal cells to get rid of that waste. And check this out right here. Here's an actual capillary bed. It's dyed in blue, and the red right there in the asleep brain is waste getting cleared out. How cool is that? And it's not happening when the brain's awake. So what type of waste products are getting taken out? Well, let's talk about two of them, like beta amyloid and free radicals. What is the significance between beta amyloid and certain forms of dementia, say like Alzheimer's disease? Well, research says that there's a significant correlation, a strong positive correlation between beta amyloid amount and people with Alzheimer's disease. How awful is that? There's no evidence yet of causation. However, who's to say that in the next few years they might find a causation factor of this beta amyloid and Alzheimer's? Now check this out also. Schizophrenia. You know what can code for schizophrenia? Just one gene mutation inside our brain. How important is it to clear out that waste? You know? Okay, so everybody do this with me real fast, please. Everybody breathe in, breathe out. Guess what we just did? We performed cellular respiration, and we brought oxygen to all parts of our body, including our brain. And these oxygen molecules have electrons surrounding them, right? But a free radical is when one of those electrons comes off of that oxygen molecule, and it's used for something else, making that oxygen molecule into a free radical, and it's highly reactive, and it does damage to our brain cells, such that, like, for example, the hydroxyl radical. I feel like that's one of the worst ones that we have. We get it every time we breathe, and it causes gene mutations and gene splicing. In my personal opinion, maybe it's that one that causes the gene mutation that will code for schizophrenia one day if we have a chronic lack of sleep. So now we've looked at what waste products we can get rid of. That's a good reason to get enough sleep, right? Let's look at something else. What does sleep and memory have to do with each other? I don't know about you, but sleep is my most valuable asset in school and in class. And if I study hard enough, when I'm in an exam, I can literally use my photographic memory to review my notes. That's only if I study hard enough and get enough sleep. So why does memory play such a role with how much sleep we get? Dr. Foster in 2013 said that our lack of sleep literally smashes our ability to retain information. Why is that? Well, let's look into that real fast. When we sleep, we have two different cycles, right? REM sleep and non-REM sleep. Let's see what Brain HQ has to say about them. They say that non-REM and REM sleep are both critical for cognitive functioning. They may be important in the encoding and consolidations of different kinds of memories. Non-REM sleeping is particularly significant for declarative memory. You know, our ability to recall the kind of fact-based information we might be tested on in an exam. It's also referred to as deep sleep, and it's what we need the most. Whereas, meanwhile, REM sleep has been associated with procedural memory for how to do things like riding a bicycle or learning a new dance step. I'm a musician, and so is my father, and he would tell me while growing up, he's like, Paul, if you want to get that song down sooner, you practice those hard pieces right before you go to bed at night. Your brain's going to work through it, and the next day you're going to play it better in the morning. He was right every single time. He and I didn't know the physiology behind it, but this is the physiology behind it. Our brain works on things when we sleep. It encodes things into our memory. So how important is it to perhaps study some of our hardest notes right before we go to sleep at night? I think that's kind of cool. Okay, so what does sleep have to play with decision making? Well, WSU, Washington State University, had this awesome research study where they found the difference between conscious thought and unconscious thought. And the difference between the two, according to them, is that unconscious thought leaves bias at the door. So let's give a good scenario here. You're taking an exam, you read that question, bam, you know the answer right away. I know I've done this. And then I start looking at those A, B, C, D answers, and then my brain starts processing. And it's like, well, shoot, D looks really good. Oh, crap, my teacher's trying to stump me, right? I know that's how I am, and because of that bias, I'm most likely going to get that answer wrong. But if I get enough sleep, according to WSU, my unconscious thought will be strong enough to tell me what I can do better. It's that first impulse that told me what that answer was. So what does decision making and sleep have to do with like experts out in the field nowadays? Let's look at that just real fast. Investigations into the Chernobyl nuclear power plant meltdown in Ukraine, the grounding of the Exxon Valdez oil tanker, and the tragic explosion of the Space Shuttle Challenger that we all know about, all concluded that sleep-deprived operators played a role in causing the accidents. Sleep-deprived operators cause people's lives, not to mention billions of dollars. How important is it that we get the sleep that we need now? We may not be out in the field today, but are we not the future? We are what they used to be, and what they are, we may become. So the question is not why do we need sleep, but it's more on the lines of, heck, what type of sleep do I need? How am I going to get that sleep? How am I going to make sleep work for me? Well, let's look into that just real fast. So we can track what we're doing. In statistics, they say the larger your sample size, the closer to the true mean. Therefore, the closer you are to knowing your accurate circadian rhythm. Our circadian rhythm is our sleep and wake cycles. You know, when your body's telling you, hey dude, it's time to get to sleep, okay, it's time to wake up. That's what a circadian rhythm is. It's your sleep and wake cycles. It's regulated by day and night patterns. When the daylight comes, your brain's told to stop producing melatonin. When the night comes, your hypothalamus is told to produce melatonin to help you sleep, which is why night shifts are awful sometimes for people. It's just not what we're meant to do, evolutionary speaking. But so if we track the time that we go to bed at night, like here, and then track the time that you wake up, and if you woke up at all to go to the bathroom or otherwise, estimate how much time you were awake, and then subtract that from your total, that is like one experiment. Your sample size is a collection of all experiments that you have. So in statistics, they say to have a sample size of 100. 100 experiments. And that's not ridiculous, but it just means that you're going to be more accurate with your average. So do that. Figure out the average. You might even want to say, did I feel rested or not? And all three of those, I did not feel rested, because unlike what most researchers say. We need 8 hours of sleep, right? That's what they say. But I found out through experimentation like this, if I get 8 hours of sleep, I'm still sleep deprived. And so you need either like 7.5 or 9 hours for me personally. That being said, we have an incredible opportunity to do amazing things in our life, to perpetuate greatness in the lives of our posterity, and to leave a legacy worth leaving behind. We are most likely going to achieve the success that we can by getting the sleep that we need every single night, doing our best to do that, having the courage to do that. Because if you give your body what it wants, it will give you what you want. Thank you. Do you guys have any questions for me that I could answer? Please feel free to stump me. Yes. Sorry, what was the first part of that question? Like, what experience did I have? Thank you for asking. That's a great question. Dr. Foster, who I referenced earlier, he said in 2013 that when you go to bed at night, make sure that all the lights are off, because that's going to tell your hypothalamus to produce melatonin, right? Well, also, he said to make sure that your room is a cool temperature. It's nice and comfortable. Sleep is not something that you force on yourself. It will fight back and make sure you don't go to sleep, right? But it's something that you let overpower yourself. It takes you. So also dimming the lights about an hour before you go to bed at night and making sure not to look at that phone or that iPad or whatever electronic device, because certain wavelengths of light emits this frequency that tells us that we need to be awake. The longer the wavelength of light, like I think it was 463 nanometers, I think that's the correct units, 463 or longer will keep you more alert and tell your brain it's time to be awake. So don't look at those electronic devices also when you're trying to prepare for bed at night. And if you have kids, crap happens. I know it. My wife and I are going to have a baby like next month. Oh my gosh. And there goes the sleep for a while, But you just do your best to make the environment perfect. Did I answer your question? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I found out that that's when I felt the most rested. Yeah, I experimented a lot. For years even, I worked at a bakery, and I had to get up either at 1 or 2 to get to work, and so I experimented with like 4 hours of sleep, 4.5, because I felt like sleep was a lazy thing to do. I really hated sleep, and I hate having to eat so much because my metabolism's way too high. I'm like, why do I have these needs that take up so much of my time? So I experimented with that, and I experimented with getting longer than 8 hours of sleep. And that's just what I feel the most rested at. That's my circadian rhythm. That's a very good question. Right here, my second reference, 2014, Good Night, Sleep Clean. They said, that doctor, the Konakova, he said that we can do irreparable damage by not getting enough sleep. They don't know how you can recover from that. If you get a night or even multiple nights where you're just not getting enough sleep, especially if you're only getting like 3 hours of sleep, a few good nights of sleep after that will not get you recovered from that. So they're hoping that pharmaceutical companies can get on board with making some type of drug that will act like the glial cells do in the lymphatic system to help us get rid of that metabolic waste while we're awake even. Yes. I didn't research talks on that in all reality. I've been a musician, when I was playing it every single day. I was doing that for 8.5 years. And I've traveled Europe. I've been in President Obama's inaugural parade. and I've had a lot of opportunities to experience practicing before night and finding out that I can play it the next day so much better. So I haven't looked at the studies except for my own personal experience. But Brain HQ, they did look at different studies, and I referenced them, and that's one of the reasons why they put in there that procedural memory is within our REM sleep. So, alrighty. I guess that covers it. Okay, thank you guys.